Yes! Welcome to Film Fireside. Okay, I'm sure this goes without saying, but Better Call Saul spoilers, and just to clarify, Breaking Bad spoilers. I'm going to talk assuming you have seen both shows, so go watch those shows. I will say though, for those of you who may be like, I don't want to watch all 5 seasons of Breaking Bad just so I can start Better Call Saul, I don't know if you need Breaking Bad to appreciate Better Call Saul. I would argue that you could watch Better Call Saul without having seen Breaking Bad, and you wouldn't be lost. There are certain things you wouldn't pick up on because you haven't seen it, but those things aren't crucial to the story of Better Call Saul, if that makes sense. Go ahead and start Better Call Saul. You don't need to watch Breaking Bad necessarily. What am I saying? Of course you need to watch Breaking Bad. Everyone needs to watch Breaking Bad. But you can do it Better Call Saul and then Breaking Bad.
If he wants to.
Spoilers ahead. Just, you know. I've been waiting for the season that things are gonna take a turn. I mean, to be clear, I have loved Better Call Saul from the beginning. Honestly, the first season I was kind of like, all right, well, seems like they're just kind of maybe putting something out there that has to do with Breaking Bad, and AMC maybe wanted it, and that was it, and that was fine. That's what I thought, but the more seasons that began to come out, the more everything makes sense. What's really cool, I love a TV show that starts small and gives itself somewhere to go. A lot of TV shows want to hook their viewers, so they start really big, and then they're like, oh, it's gonna get bigger and better as it goes on, and usually that's not what happens. You're just disappointed. And that comes from the fact that most TV shows don't go into it with an end goal in mind. They're just like, all right, let's see if this idea really hits first. And if the first season's a success, then all right, we'll sign on for a second season. Woohoo, let's do it. Then the writers go and be like, all right, what can we do to keep the story going? Most TV shows are approached from that way. And I dislike all TV shows that are approached from that perspective because those TV shows disappoint you eventually. The writers eventually run out of ideas. Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad, both those shows were not approached that way. Breaking Bad could have gone for 12 seasons because of how popular it was at the time, but the writers had an end goal in mind. They had a story to tell, and they needed to do it through the medium of TV, so 5 seasons. Better Call Saul, they had a story to tell, even though it didn't seem that way at first, but now that more has come to light, they totally had a story and a journey to tell. It's 6 seasons long. There's going to be one more season of this, and they said, yep, and then we're done. This is the time they needed to tell the story. The reason this is, I think they wanted to use TV because both of these shows, I would say the core of it is a character study on Walter White, Jesse in Breaking Bad, and other characters in Breaking Bad, and in this, Jimmy McGill and Chuck McGill, and I didn't realize it till this season, and we'll get into that, Kim Wexler. In its core, it's about watching a character change and transform. Breaking Bad is a little different because we didn't know Walt's end goal. This is really different, and it's approached in this way, I think with this in mind. We as the audience know that Jimmy McGill is going to turn into Saul Goodman. In fact, the title is more or less the end of the series, Better Call Saul. No one has said that yet throughout the series, not even this season. Better Call Saul slogan is a direct reference to Breaking Bad, and that's the journey we're going towards. Regardless, there's an end goal in mind here. And this is the season I've been waiting for holy crap, things are going to dive bomb. I've been waiting for that to start happening. I haven't felt the huge punch dive bomb episode or event that takes place. And I think we got one of the many that are to come. As soon as season 4 ended in Breaking Bad, that's when I knew I was watching a masterpiece. That's when I was like, oh my gosh, everything is starting to come together now. And I was ready to get into season 5 and watch it all go downhill from there for Walt. I was waiting for that to really happen with Jimmy and Saul Goodman. And it could be argued that season 4 of this was that when he finally turns around and goes,
it's all good, man.
Because he is trying to dive in and take on this role. And I maybe thought that as well, but this season does something else that just blew my mind, blew me away. Oh my gosh. If you can't tell, I'm being very ADHD right now. I tried to just organize my thoughts, and I just get so excited about this. This is gonna be a 40-minute video, my goodness. I'll try not to make it a 40-minute video. I'll try to focus on the main things that stuck out to me. This will help me be a little more organized in my thoughts. Let's focus on the characters' journeys at this point. So So season 4 ends with, I mentioned, Jimmy turning to Kim and going, Saul good, man. Meaning he's now going to practice law under the name of Saul Goodman, recognizing that being Jimmy McGill, he's always going to be stuck under the shadow of Chuck McGill, and he needs to just get rid of that. He can't let Chuck control and manipulate his life anymore. Jimmy changes his name to Saul Goodman, and that's the legal name he's going to practice law under moving forward. Now this takes me to the very first episode of this season. As you know, throughout Better Call Saul, every season starts with a black and white flash forward to post Breaking Bad, what happened with Saul Goodman post Breaking Bad. As you know, Breaking Bad ends, he orders the vacuum parts, skips town, and has started a whole new life, I think it's in Omaha, Nebraska, as Gene Takovic. I didn't realize it till this specific flash forward scene though. Gene Takovic isn't a new person. Jimmy McGill is really good at taking on new characters and personalities for what he's needed for, and makes the best of that, i.e. Saul Goodman. He has no desire to be a new person in this life. He has the name Gene Takovic, but it doesn't really anything to do with who he is. He's more or less just Saul Goodman with a mustache and a Cinnabon uniform on. However, when danger or a potential threat shows up, he reverts to his old ways, runs and calls the vacuum guy to get help and run away and start over again. But we see a look on his face, a change in him, and something that I have not seen this character do anywhere yet.
Still there?
I've changed my mind.
Change your mind.
Yeah.
To be clear, you are not going forward with this.
I'm gonna fix it myself.
So that's what we're left with. We're gonna see how he handles it. My opinion, there is another journey Saul Goodman has been taking post Breaking Bad, and it may also be detrimental to him, but maybe even in a worse way. And that's what I'm picking up on. Or that ends up being he now takes responsibility for everything. He really, becomes who he's meant to be in a heroic way. Maybe this is a story of redemption for him. We see him mess up his life. Everything goes downhill, even to the point of all the things he does during Breaking Bad. And perhaps the point of these flash forward sections is to let us know that he ends up redeeming himself. I don't know. We shall see. We shall see. Maybe Gene Takovic is a redemptive character for him. I don't know. There is a theme throughout this season, something I kind of picked up on. A face is a theme, and also missing sections. So for Jimmy, the very prevalent face shot of his is when he's looking down the hallway at the family, and we see one half of his face being reflected to be both halves of his face. I don't think Jimmy has necessarily dive bombed into this new role yet. Change takes time. No one just changes like that. That's not very realistic to all of a sudden to believe that all of a sudden he's now that Saul Goodman that we know in Breaking Bad. That's not how life works. He's been making that journey towards being Saul Goodman, but we see Jimmy kind of pulling him back to reality a little bit throughout this series. That shot specifically, we see Jimmy's taking over, or it's scary because the image is distorted. Perhaps Saul Goodman is now going to take over his whole life and leave Jimmy out. The other image that sticks out to me, this is turning into more of an analysis than a review. The other image that sticks out to me is, I mentioned this before, is missing pieces. There is, during the 50% off crime rampage those two weirdos go on, it ends with a shot of a glass lawn gnome that's broken. And again, back to the face. Half of his face is missing. 50% off of his face. Clever writing. I'm not even joking. That's totally the point of it right there. What's really interesting about this image, all right, you know what? I'm full on analyzing the things I've noticed. I don't even care. Whatever. This is going to be like a 50-minute video anyway. The shape of, again, so I talked about missing parts. I think this shape is really interesting. The shape of the missing section is more or less like a angled triangle. This episode ends with Nacho Varga coming to pick up Saul Goodman because they need lawyer representation for Domingo, who gets busted for possession of drugs and dealing drugs. He has an ice cream cone when that happens, You see him drop the ice cream cone, and as the car drives away, a weird amount of attention is given to that ice cream cone. Even in the beginning of the next episode, the shape of that is, again, the shape of the cone. Put it out, and it would fit where the broken piece of the lawn gnome and the face of the lawn gnome is. And what's really interesting about that is the beginning of the next episode starts with ants just infesting this ice cream cone. Perhaps Jimmy's face, 50% off. He's only halfway to Saul Goodman at this point. In order to just become Saul Goodman, you got to kill Jimmy McGill, and it's really sad. That's what's going to have to happen. So Jimmy's going to start getting infiltrated a little bit and infected to the point where that part of this half that's missing is going to be full on Saul Goodman, and Saul Goodman is a parasite, even an infestation, perhaps of his own self. Another thing with this image, the image of the ice cream cone is seen at the beginning of the episode facing this way at the beginning of the episode. At the end of the episode, the shot of it is facing this way, and then that way, like a scale. There is seems to be what's happening with him right now. There's a Saul Goodman scale and a Jimmy McGill scale. He just keeps like playing back and forth, and we just see him going like full on and then full on and then full on this whole season. He does that throughout the series. The question lies, though, within these two like polar opposite roles he continuously tries to play, is who he is really just Saul Goodman? And Jimmy McGill is more or less this fake version of himself he's been trying to put on to please everyone else, and like maybe even himself, to prove to himself that he's not a bad guy? Or is this good guy just something that's always been there, and this bad guy just keeps coming in and trying to infiltrate his life? If Hamlin is correct, this season may suggest that that is the case with Jimmy. Because he says to Kim,
"You know who really knew Jimmy? Chuck."
Chuck's very last words to Jimmy were,
"In the end, you're going to hurt everyone around you. You can't help it. So stop apologizing and accept it."
Guess we shall see. Okay, now we get into this big turning point, and how this season was that for me. Like I mentioned before, Breaking Bad season 4, that season was the turning point for me, where I was like, oh shoot, that's where the dive bomb is beginning. And okay, what's going to happen next? Let's see how this all just spirals out of control for Walter White. It was also the season that I realized I was duped the whole time. I was duped even by Walter White, the character Walter White. The entire time of Breaking Bad, I was fully believing that the show was going to end. He was going to make money for his family, and he was going to fix his relationship with his wife somehow. And Holly was going to have money for college. Junior was going to have money for college. He was just going to fix it all, and everything he was going to do it somehow. And so, yeah, killing Gus Fring. Gus Fring's too dangerous, man. You got to get away from that, blah, 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 blah. It wasn't until he says, "It happened.
I won."
And then we zoom in on the Lily of the Valley flower, which is what he uses to poison Brock to totally manipulate the whole situation. It wasn't until then that I realized, oh my gosh, I'm cheering for the bad guy.
We've been Smeckledorfed.
That's not even a word, and I agree with you.
I've been cheering for the bad guy this entire time. This is not that type of story. Holy cow! And everything, all these other decisions he's made were just like flashing through my mind, and I was like, oh my gosh, he's been like changing the whole time, and I didn't even notice. What's cool about that, and how I know Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould base their stories on truth, is that's what happens with us. When we change, we don't even realize it's happening. But we honestly don't. We can't even see that sometimes. It's not until we reach a certain point and then look back and go, yeah, I've been changing. This show duped me again. And I was thinking like, I didn't think that was going to happen in the series. Because again, I know what happens with Saul Goodman. I know what happens with Jimmy McGill. He's going to become Saul Goodman. I know what his end result is. I was duped with Kim Wexler. Kim has been changing this entire time, and not for the better. And I didn't even notice it. I was totally thinking, oh man, Kim is like the moral backbone. This is going to end, and Kim is just going to have to leave Jimmy eventually because he's just too dangerous. Or Jimmy's going to like get her killed by the cartel because he's an idiot. But what I did not realize is that Kim may have dabbled. I just figured Kim was dabbling a little with Jimmy, you know. She knows that Jimmy can help her in some situations and maybe get her out of some things, you know. But regardless, she always sticks to the moral background of like, no, I got to do what's right by my clients. I got to be honest. That's not good. One of the episodes that is used to show that she's starting to go downhill and I didn't even realize it at the time, was the scene where we see Kim's past. Looks like she just got done with band practice and she's been waiting for her ride for probably what looks like hours. Mom pulls up drunk and is like, get in the car, let's go home. I'm so sorry, I'm late. And she goes, nope, not getting in the car. Like a smart woman, like Kim Wexler is, perfect Kim Wexler fashion, she's not gonna get in a car with a drunk driver. That's dangerous and it's unpredictable. That episode ends with her marrying Jimmy. She basically gets in the car with a drunk driver. I saw that episode and at first I was like, oh shoot. We see something not good is gonna happen for Kim here by that decision. She may be blinded by Jimmy's charm. You know, perhaps Jimmy, if Jimmy was in the car drunk, she would get in with Jimmy because she loves and cares for Jimmy. At the very end of season 5, Kim Wexler with that little and that whole conversation about trying to plant some evidence against Hamlin, it just floored me. It floored me. Kim is becoming part of the game. She's becoming she's developing and gaining some of the worst parts of Jimmy. This is a tragic story because Saul Goodman has that type of influence on people.
In the end, you're going to hurt everyone around you.
And I think that's the real tragedy here that we're going to see. And that's going to really suck for Jimmy is he's going to watch how destructive of a person he is. How he caused her to do this.
Kim doing this, it's not you. Okay? You would not be okay with it. Not in the cold light of day. Wouldn't I?
I have not been able to stop thinking about that, and I am so scared for what's going to happen to Kim in season 6. I'm floored. Okay, I think that's all I got for Better Call Saul. As far as just reviewing the quality of this in general, though, it's damn near perfect. I don't know what else to say. Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould are genius. They think of literally everything. And they're so based in truth with their stories. Up until now, Better Call Saul, I had it rated as like a 9 out of 10, just the series in general. Like I said, it kind of started off, I was like, oh, okay, it's fine. Actually, the very first episode, I was like, okay, 8 out of 10. It's good. It's fine. Maybe we'll see if it goes anywhere, but I'll give it an 8 out of 10 for now. Second season, I left it that way. Third season, I was like, okay, 9 out of 10. Fourth season, I was like, ooh, 9 out of 10. This season, first thing I've talked about that has this rating on here, Better Call Saul, as of right now, is a 10 out of 10 for me. Whew. I feel like relaxed now. I got it all out. I got all my thoughts out. I was just so happy about this show. Oh, it made me so happy. It affected me so very, very much. Thank you so much for watching. Look out for more reviews coming soon of different movies. Tell me your thoughts on Better Call Saul. This was turned into more of an analysis. I wasn't intending to do that, but I know many on the internet are good at analyzing stuff. If you have a very specific analytical point you have taken or picked up from Better Call Saul, either the whole time or season 5 specifically, drop it in the comments. I would love to start a discussion with you. I'd love to talk ideas with you. Comment, like, subscribe. Bye-bye.